Imposter syndrome versus imposed syndrome. You may be watching this wondering, like, okay, I know what imposter syndrome is, but what is imposed syndrome? If you're a Black woman in the workplace, you need to watch this discussion. Every time people bring up imposter syndrome for Black women, I always kind of sit back. It always kind of sits with me kind of funny. So, we're going to talk about ways that imposter syndrome may sit a little differently for Black women in the workplace because we're going to look at and talk about contextual issues that impact Black women in the workplace and how it may be more of a reflection of imposed syndrome. So once you leave this discussion, you're going to have a better understanding of imposed syndrome and really reflect on, am I experiencing imposter syndrome, imposed syndrome, or a combination of both? If you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, a toxic job survivor, but more importantly, I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. I'm the co-founder with Marissa Price of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women. If you have not already gotten on the waiting list for the third annual Job Liberation Virtual Summit, which starts May 1st, that information to get on the waiting list is in the description section of these YouTube videos. So you can get on the waiting list for the third annual Job Liberation Virtual Summit, which starts May 1st. And during the summit, we talk about, and you will actually create an exit plan for creating, right? An exit plan to replace your income and your benefits so that you can leave a toxic job or a job that you've outgrown based upon your timeline. So you don't need to leave right away if you don't feel that you need to or you want to, but you'll be ready. So again, you need to know we need to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Okay. So again, get on the waiting list for the third annual Job Liberation Virtual Summit. So I'm excited to have Natasha here with us today, and she is here from the UK. So Natasha, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Natasha Williams and I am the creator of the Cost of Black Excellence Research Institute. I'm just doing some research on Black excellence and what it actually costs us in the workplace.
Actually, it's fascinating research, everybody. Okay, as you're going to find out. And let me tell you how this conversation came to be. So, I did a LinkedIn post recently about imposter syndrome and Black women in the workplace and how it kind of sits with me kind of straight, like, I don't know if this actually captures our experience because I think many times for Black women, as we come into the workplace, many times for us, we know that we have to be twice as good. That's how we've been brought up. So we come into the workplace and we often have a sense of confidence about our abilities because we have to be, right? We have to be confident. However, people around us are the ones who are telling us that we're less than. And so, because of all these things around us, we might start questioning ourselves, which is a little different than the traditional imposter syndrome. So that's why I've always said, kind of like, I don't know if that really captures our experience as the imposter syndrome. So I'm curious. So okay, so that was my like, I don't know. And so I made this post, and Natasha commented on my post. And then she commented about some research that she had done, which we're going to talk about today. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So there's research that supports what I'm saying. So then I invited her to be a guest, and she gladly accepted. So I'm so glad that she was available to be my guest. So we're going to talk about that. So Natasha, can you share with the audience? And again, thank you, Natasha, for being my guest. So everybody, it is 1 a.m. in the UK. Okay. So let's thank Natasha, number one, for being here at 1
Yeah.
a.m. in the morning, right? To be with us at our regular time. Okay. So, Natasha, can you share with us initially what were your professional experiences working in the UK and what really prompted this fascinating research?
Right. So I was a managing director of a building surveying firm for about 14 years. And I think it's one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And it wasn't because of the work, because I am a good building surveyor and a very confident building surveyor. But the scrutiny that I went through as a Black woman, I was the only Black building black business owner, building surveyor in the West Midlands. I was questioned at every point. I have had the police called on me. I've had
For doing your job.
whilst doing my job, people would I'd turn up on the door and people would say to me, "Oh, I was expecting a man." Excuse me. My name is Natasha Williams. I've never heard of a man called Natasha in my life. You were
Mhm.
expecting a white person. That's what you were expecting. Do you know?
Mm.
And it just became harder and harder. I used to get visits, yearly visits from the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. When I started asking other firms how often they'd seen the regulators. They haven't seen them ever, or they had one visit when they first started. I got them every single year. It
Mm.
was
Every
very
year?
every year, every year.
Wow. Wow.
I was always being investigated. I'd get complaints from customers when they went on the website and saw that I was a black woman. I'd have to send out some of my white surveyors just to keep them at ease.
Mm.
It was hard, and
Mm.
I think after about 13 years, I started feeling so much fatigue. I was
Mm.
tired all the time. I couldn't concentrate, and to be honest, what happened? The best thing that happened to me was the pandemic, and I got stuck in Jamaica. And I stayed in Jamaica for about a year
Mm.
recovering. And when I came back to England, I just walked away from it all because it was just too much.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
so doing the job, but constantly have to prove that you could do the job, constantly, people questioning, like, who are you? I expected somebody else. So
yeah,
dealing with the so-called customer, but also
mhm,
within your field, kind of being audited yearly, and other people were not.
exactly,
So
exactly.
fighting to do your job.
Yeah, just
Mhm.
constantly fighting. It would knock your confidence. You would always you'd get customers call up to say, "Can I see your credentials?" Well, send my master's certificate through. I'm actually a planner, town planner, and building surveyor as well. And I've worked quite a lot in the housing sector, so I had higher level degrees, degree upon degree in the field, and I was considered one of the top experts, but I was always questioned about everything.
Wow.
So I
And
decided that,
customers would ask you to see your credentials?
yeah, I would say to them, go onto the website, go onto the RICS website. You can see that we're listed there. Yeah, always,
Mhm.
always having to prove myself. It was so exhausting.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. So you went on guest holiday to Jamaica, and then because of what was happening, you got stuck there. But it
yeah,
turned out that it worked to your benefit because you were exhausted. You were able to get like some break from that constant scrutiny and doubt and all that kind of stuff. So when
yeah,
you were in Jamaica, can you tell us a little bit more? Because it seems like when we're dealing with that, we kind of, as Black women, we deal with these indignities and we keep going. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like we recognize indignities and we keep going. So sometimes we don't recognize the toll that it takes on us, but then we
yeah.
have some distance, we're able to. So once you got to Jamaica,
Mhm.
can you share with us, and when you had some distance, what did you recognize in terms of the impact that all of that was having on you?
Well, I think when I got to Jamaica, I think that was the first time I actually rested properly in
Mm,
years because I didn't
mm,
I didn't have to do any work at all.
mm,
I left it to my team to do all the work.
mhm.
And I slept for 3 days. They actually thought I was dead in the off in the house. The neighbors were knocking on the door. I did not hear them. They were knocking on the door to see if I was okay. I was
Mm,
just so exhausted,
mm,
and I didn't realize I was that exhausted. And I had to sit. I think it took me about 3 months I was just sitting by the sea every day, not doing
wow.
anything, and just thinking, why am I so tired?
Mm,
Um, I spoke to my sisters. My sister said she's well, my sister's developed lupus because of working within the system.
mhm,
But they her workplace said to her that she can work from home. My other two sisters have actually been sectioned because of the pressures of work. So I didn't want to end up like that myself. When I
so
say sectioned,
you had observed what had
yeah,
happened.
I've observed that my sisters have gone through these sorts of things. So it's the women in the family. I spoke to my cousins, the same story.
Mm,
Everybody had the same story. I
mm,
then decided to retrain as a trauma informed coach.
mm,
And when I was on the course, I said to the lady that I've got some clients and they're experiencing racial trauma. What do we do experiencing racial trauma, and we how do we recover from that um, in the workplace?
oh,
And she's well, I don't know. These are all white women anyway, and I don't know.
I didn't know what to do with that.
Anybody. So, so that started. That got me thinking.
Uh-huh.
I think we need further investigation on this. And there was a day when I got back from Jamaica. I thought I'm
Mhm,
going to sell the house, downside. I'm not going to go back to work again.
mhm,
Not in that sort of work anyway.
mhm,
So I was talking to the estate agent. It was a black guy, and we sat down talking about burnout and having to prove yourself for over 2 hours instead of like him giving me some advice on how to sell the property.
mm,
So I think that was the spark. The many women that I'd interviewed, my cousins, my family members, all black women mainly. And I thought, oh, okay, let me dig into this further. Then I started the research. I started doing some research behind it. And then I
mhm,
put out something on LinkedIn to say, would anyone answer this survey? And I expected to get maybe 100 people come back. But I think within a couple of months, I had about 300 people that
mm,
answered the survey.
mhm,
I did 12 interviews, no, 13 interviews with individuals, and it's all the same. We have this thing, what I have called it the excellence tax, Black
mm,
excellence tax. And someone in the research said that we do not have imposter syndrome. We don't suffer from that because we're working at higher levels, constantly proving ourselves, constantly saying, yeah, I've got a degree, master's degree, PhD. What more do you want? I've got the experience. But yet, they still put it on us to say we're not good enough. Oh, you
mhm,
cannot get promoted to that sort of level. Oh, have you got those credentials? Because
mhm.
um, it's quite shocking. Sometimes I would speak to white people here. It's so shocking that you're so intelligent, Natasha. I think, excuse me.
Whoa.
So this is all imposed on us. It really is.
Wow. Natasha, oh my goodness. Okay, so now I've heard, okay, ooh, let me reflect back something. So I would
Yeah.
frequently hear, you're so articulate, you're so well spoken, right? I would hear
Hmm.
that so much. I've never heard directly that they might say other things about, ooh, you're so intelligent. They might say, like, oh, I'm learning so much from you. But like that,
Mm.
I cannot believe you're so smart. Like they just cannot believe that as a black woman, you're so smart. But
Yeah.
what I heard from you, Natasha, talking about you had seen a pattern in your family of Black women being harmed in the workplace due to
Yeah.
racial trauma. You had seen it, and I think many Black women, we have seen our parents, our mothers, people in our family, friends, we've seen it. And so you saw it, you were able to identify what it was, and you said, I don't want that to be my story anymore. I want to shift
Exactly.
gears, right?
Mm.
And so sometimes we observe it, but there's a difference. Sometimes we see it, but sometimes we feel like we can't change course. You know, we feel
Mhm.
like that's their story and that's going to be my story and it's nothing I can do about it. But what I
Mhm.
heard you say was, that was their story. This is not going to be my story anymore. I'm going to pivot. And so I'm going to go into like a different field. So I'm going to start learning about trauma. You go into this area to learn more about trauma and you drop a bombshell. You ask in this format where they're like, what? You ask about racial trauma, right? And because they didn't know anything about it, you said, you know what? I'm going to start doing some research. And I think that really speaks a lot too. Many times we see, like, wait a minute, there's nothing out here that speaks to our
Mm.
experience. And we're looking for other people to provide that information, but it's not there. It's not there. And so
Yeah.
we're looking to them, but sometimes we have to create it. And that's what you did. And when you went on LinkedIn and you asked those questions, you saw all those people responded. It's kind of like what I did on YouTube. An
Mm.
individual LinkedIn was I started talking about my experience in a toxic job, and I'm thinking it's just going to be like a series, a few little videos, right? Now, 3.5 years later, or how many years later, all these Black women from around the world are like, I'm having the exact same experience. So I want to commend you for doing that and being courageous enough. So now you're helping
Thank
so
you.
many other Black women being able to see their experience in your research. So let's talk about what some of the respondents said. You said that the Black excellence tax. You talked
Yeah.
about, no, it's not imposter syndrome. That's not what it is. Because when we
Mm.
think about us getting jobs, many times
Mhm.
we have to be up and above to even get the job. Okay.
Yeah.
You're just not going to let us slide in anyway. So the fact
Yeah.
that they're even acting like we don't have the credentials, we got to be up and above. More than likely, we got to be out credentialed than even them to even get the
Mhm.
job. So for them to
Yeah.
even assume or insinuate that is insulting anyway. So can you talk about what is Black excellence tax for people who may not understand what that is?
So, the Black Excellence Tax is the extra work we have to do in order to be seen as competent as the
Mhm,
white person within the organization.
mhm,
So, it's the code switching that we have to do,
mhm,
it's the extra qualifications that we have to get. It's the microaggressions that they impose on us every single day, and
mhm,
sometimes it's macro aggressions because sometimes within especially here in the UK, I've had to ask people, do you think that black people do not have any feelings, because they speak to us as if we haven't got any feelings.
mhm.
So yeah, so that's my definition of the excellence tax.
Wow.
And I have identified 15 specific burdens, and you'll see it more in my research. I won't go through everything, but there are five areas that I call foundation taxes, survival taxes, systemic taxes. Those are things that we cannot avoid. Leadership taxes and resistance taxes. So that's all explained within the research. So I do break it down quite a bit from the transcripts that I gathered and all the qualitative information that I gathered as well.
Mm.
So yeah,
And we're going
those
to
are
share
important.
later, everybody, about how to access this research because I think it's really
Yeah.
groundbreaking. So, Natasha, when we think about imposter syndrome, many of
Mhm.
us, and it's the part that was like, yeah, I don't think this really applies to Black women in the same way that imposter syndrome was written. So, imposter syndrome, from my understanding, as it was written and studied, it's more so like this internal questioning of your abilities and feeling like you're a fraud and
Mhm.
you feel like you're competent, but then you question like, wait a minute, do I really belong here? And that kind of, so it's more of an internal dynamic, right?
Yeah.
But what we're talking about is the shift of the narrative that we're looking at contextual issues. It's more of an externalized pressure. Can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit more in terms of um, is there an internal dynamic in relation to this imposed syndrome? Like, how does the external pressures, right, of having to be over prepared or people questioning, does that then
Mm.
impact the internal dynamic, or what? How does that work with the imposed
Yeah,
syndrome?
so the thing is that Because of imposter syndrome is internal. We do feel that we're not good enough, but that's
Mhm,
because we've got to go to work and we've got to suppress our identity.
mhm,
86 87% of people in the research said that they suppress parts of their identity at work, and that's not because of that they want to suppress their identity. We need to suppress our identity.
mhm,
For instance, I didn't get locks until I started my own business,
mhm,
and I always straightened my hair
mhm,
because I knew it would not be accepted within the workplace. You
mhm,
know, so we have all this double scrutiny, which is a burden on us. So yeah, we some of us do feel as though we have imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? But most of the time, when you go into organizations, you're questioning, do I actually fit within this organization? But you
mhm,
don't really,
mhm,
because you can tell who wants you there, who doesn't want you there.
mhm,
They're not helping you to get to the next level. There are
mhm,
opportunities for you within these organizations, and we think we work harder, we show that we can do the work, we're taking time out to study extra certificates, qualifications, to make sure that we're seen as um, more than adequate.
mhm,
But all of that is because the environment that you're in is suppressing you and telling you that you need to suppress yourself to look as though you're professional.
mhm,
But the thing is that they then tell you, well, you're not good enough, and then you start questioning yourself. Am I
mhm,
actually good enough to be within this environment? You know,
mhm.
so it is a bit of both. Sometimes
Okay.
we're just in the wrong environment.
Mhm.
More than likely, we're in the wrong environment.
So you're questioning yourself because the external is making you question yourself. You're not coming into the
Indeed.
environment like, am I worthy enough? It's because
Mm,
the external environment is making you question yourself. And when you said suppress
indeed.
parts of your identity, it's like suppressing things that maybe culturally people might like hair. Are there other things about our identity that we might suppress?
Yeah, there's let me see my notes. Sorry, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. So
We give you
yeah.
full grace, okay?
Thank you. That's more than I would get at work. So the thing is that we suppress our voice, changing our voice, because my children always they do this impression of me every time I get off the phone. Actually, that I sound like a completely different person, and they say
Hmm.
you can stop now. So we do that a lot. So we change our hair, our voices, even the way we dress, the way we move within the environment. I was discussing with a friend of mine the other day, and he said that he had a meeting with this. Is a psychotherapist, so he had a meeting, and he said Natasha started laughing and clapping. And I remembered all of a sudden I was in front of white people. So I had to quickly sort of compose myself quickly to say, oh, of course, yes.
Like a recheck. Yes.
So that, and it's a survival strategy, because if you behave as you do, as I do with my cousins or my brothers and sisters, you become quite threatening to them. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so you have no choice but to code switch, and you've got to soften your voice, you've got to change your hair, act as if you haven't got those sort of emotions, laugh
Mhm.
at jokes that really don't make sense to you, or that you don't find funny.
Right.
um some people hold back in meetings quite a lot. I was never
Mhm.
that type of person. I'd speak up in meetings, and
Mhm.
they'd say to me, "No, Natasha, I don't think this is the right place for you," because
Ooh,
I'd speak up
okay.
in the meeting.
Okay.
Um, or they'd say, "Oh, that was an intelligent point," and it's just like, "Well, come on,"
Another dig.
And
Another dig.
yeah, constant digs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people scan the room before they speak. Is it safe to speak? Do they feel safe
Mhm.
within this?
Mhm.
within this meeting with this
Mhm.
person that they're
Mhm.
working with. Yeah, so
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah,
We're talking a lot
um,
about code switching, right? So what do
yeah.
you think ongoing may be the impact of code switching for Black women in the workplace, emotionally, professionally? What kind of impact?
Well, the thing is that a lot of people have reported, especially within the research, that it has led to a lot of health problems. Suppressing themselves, it has a health impact. Um, and 63% report severe or significant health problems, which is anxiety, depression, chronic pain, high blood pressure,
Ooh,
autoimmune conditions,
ooh.
and a lot of people reported that doctors have told them to leave the workplace because the stress is actually killing us. And
Mm.
there is a researcher, I have put it in the report,
Mhm.
that talks about weathering, which is well known among Black people, and that we age a lot faster than white women because of the
Mhm.
stress of work. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I know that it's difficult to turn up authentically as yourself in the workplace,
Mhm.
but I think that we have to watch that we do not erase ourselves. Sometimes some people have said within the research, I just don't recognize myself anymore,
Ooh.
and that's a dangerous place to be.
Wow. Wow. So,
Mm.
Natasha, I heard you say the impact that can have that. So, anxiety, different psychological issues. I also heard you talk about like blood pressure issues,
Mhm.
autoimmune, weathering. Let's talk a little bit more about autoimmune and let's talk a little bit more about weathering. So, can you
Mhm.
elaborate a little bit more about the autoimmune?
So, a lot of people have developed like lupus, things such as lupus, bowel issues. And the thing is that because we're age and we're getting older, perimenopausal, and the symptoms are so much deeper
Mhm.
because of the stress that we're experiencing in the workplace. A lot of people have reported that within the research. And because a lot of people have reported that, my next research will go on to explore that a bit more because
Mhm.
a lot it is leading to a lot of people leaving the workplace totally exhausted.
Wow.
In the research, I found that 91% of people are actually thinking of leaving, but 23% of those people have left already
Mm.
due to health issues or to protect their health.
Wow. And then you said also about weathering, right? So
Yeah.
can you elaborate on weathering as well?
Yeah, so the thing is that people have reported health conditions such as heart attacks, heart conditions, because we're aging a lot faster
Mhm.
because of the conditions that we're in. And if
Mhm.
you go to an organization and talk to them about weathering, they're like, well, what's that got to do with anything? But the
Mhm.
thing is that people are not working at their full capacity because we're
Mhm.
burning ourselves out too early. And we see that the weathering patterns sort of kick in around 42, 43, and
Mhm.
people start experiencing um, health conditions so badly that they feel that they need to exit or they need an alternative in terms of working.
Mm. You
That's
know,
what
it's
I found
interesting
in
you
the
talked
research.
about that. I've had
Yeah.
some Black medical doctors on. They've talked about this repeatedly, and they've talked about how the life expectancy rates for Black women are different based upon that. And even thinking about in America, that the American Heart Association has come out with stats that
Mhm.
the life expectancy rates for Black women in America have actually gone down
Yeah.
because of issues of chronic stress, which we're thinking about toxic jobs or anything with chronic stress, because of this issues can impact our heart health. And so it's very important for us as Black women, wherever we are, to be
Mm.
mindful of anything that causes us chronic stress, to be
Indeed.
mindful of it and to mitigate those issues. So you said that some people are saying enough is enough and they're leaving the workplace. And I also heard you say something that was really, really stood out to me. You said that people are saying that they're not recognizing themselves,
Yeah, yeah.
right? They just feel like they're kind of just a shell of themselves,
Yeah,
right?
self-erasure, a
Mhm.
lot of that within the research, just feel as though they cannot do this anymore. I had a person write to me at the age of 29, I think she was 29, and she said that she doesn't recognize herself anymore and she will not enter another racially exclusive workplace again because of how she had burnt out so badly from just working within the
Mm,
system. Yeah.
wow.
And yeah, one of the ladies that I interviewed, she developed two autoimmune not diseases, conditions.
Hmm.
And she woke up one day and she said she wasn't able to walk anymore.
Ooh,
So she has been in recovery for about 3 years. So this is really, really serious, especially for Black women.
yeah, yeah. And I'm even thinking about too, Natasha, for us as Black women, that there's often just the burden that we carry as Black women because there's so many stereotypes about us, right?
Mm,
So there's a stereotype of us as the angry Black woman. There's a stereotype of us as the strong Black woman, right? So as we come
mhm,
into the workplace and then like, oh, well, then how'd you get here, right? So then we're thinking, okay, well, I can't be perceived as lazy, right? Then I can't be seen as this and I can't be seen as that. And so this constant, and actually one of my colleagues from the UK also, Dr. Erica McInnes, was saying
mm,
like it's constant mental gymnastics, right?
yeah,
So it's constant mental gymnastics. Again, it's more of this external pressure, right? And then
yeah,
you start like trying to, you're like morphing yourself, but I can see how you kind of lose yourself. And in terms of losing that sense of your identity and suppressing yourself. I see a comment from my dear friend Colette Elizabeth. Hey sis, my friend, we call her ourselves the Harriets, right? So we help liberate Black women. So we have Colette, we have Marissa, so and me, right? So Colette said, I felt like I just suppressed my family dynamics. On the one hand, I was a single mother of two, but also felt like I had to assure the folks that I was married when I had my girls because members of the management team I was a part of, even the Black ones, looked down on and made derogatory comments about single moms or baby mamas, right? So feeling like that sense of pressure and judgment, right? So if you
mm,
ascend, as Colette did, as she ascended to leadership management position, you are aware that all eyes are on you and it's a sense of judgment. So even in
mm,
your personal life, they're still waiting to find fault in you or judge you or right. So you're still like, okay, I'm saying these things, but I got to make sure that I say this. I got to make sure that so this constant sense of pressure, right?
yeah.
So that's part of the excellence tax, right? The Black excellence tax.
Indeed. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm,
definitely, because you
mhm.
experience it everywhere you
Yeah.
go. I mean, you don't stop being Black for a day, you know.
Hmm.
Um, Someone said in the research, which I felt was so heartbreaking, the condition of being Black is so hard, she said. And I just thought, oh my gosh, that you actually look at it, that it's a condition of us being Black, that is the problem. But
It's
the
so
thing
sad.
is that I've had to always reframe it. It's not my problem that you've got a problem with me, you know. And I've had to say this to my brothers and sisters as well. I mean, they're not as brave as me. They say to me that I'm extremely brave, but I refuse to work within a system that does not appreciate me. And I feel that one of the things that we have to do as Black people is to start to come together because we cannot rely on external forces to do anything for us, really. Even though I've done this research, it's for Black professionals first, not for the organizations, because organizations will choose whether they want to help us or not. But yeah, it's it's very hard in your day-to-day life, having to deal with the mental gymnastics of other people's thoughts of you,
Mhm.
and how you've got to navigate it, how you've got to present yourself. There are people in the research that have said that they have hid motherhood, they hid their personal lives away from their work colleagues because they didn't want to be judged. I went to work. I was in work for 20 years and I nobody knew I had children. And one day I said I got comfortable. I got comfortable with this black lady that I was working with. And she said to me that she's been struggling to have children and she was in her 40s. And she said, "Have you got children?" And I said, "Yes, I've got children." And she was like, "Oh, so how many children have you got?" I said, "I've got 5 children." And she was like, "5." So I thought, okay, that's it. She's left it there. She told the whole
Oh my
management team,
gosh.
she told everyone in the organization, and they were like, "You've been here for 2 years, Natasha. Why don't you tell us that you've got
None of your
children?"
business.
It's none of
That's
your
my
business.
work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I was always on time to work. I would work extra hours, and it looked as though I didn't have any children. They were in after school club or whatever they would do. But
Mhm.
I would, if they called me in to do extra work, I'd do it,
Mhm.
and it looked as though I was this single person who didn't
Mhm.
have a family.
Mhm.
So I didn't let them know what was
Mhm.
going on in my personal life. But
Mhm.
I think I was very embarrassed about that. Well, not embarrassed, but I was disappointed that I'd sort of trusted a person at work.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
in my view, I felt she threw me under the bus.
Yeah,
So,
she did.
yeah,
Well, yeah, I mean, that was on her, not on you. Like, you didn't do
yeah.
anything wrong, right? That was on her that she did something that
Exactly.
was totally inappropriate. And I think for us as Black women, it's very challenging for us because sometimes in the
Mm,
workplace, boundaries get a little, whatever. People start asking personal questions. And so sometimes we feel like we need to also share personal information. But I think for us, we have to be very mindful
mm,
of what personal information we share because that
yeah,
that personal information can be twisted some kind of way. And so I just want us to be mindful going forward of what personal information we choose to share. And
mm,
if we choose to share limited information, that sometimes that can be used against us too, right? Oh, she's so private, or
indeed.
we don't know that much about her, or whatever, whatever. But
Mm,
again, whatever you share, they may use that against you. So just be mindful of
indeed.
sharing personal information. But the other thing I want to say, Natasha, I want to go back to something you said that one of
Mhm.
the respondents said that being Black uh, can be so difficult, right? And so
Yeah,
that was so hurtful to hear that because it's not being Black, but that's the part that white supremacy has done to us is making
indeed.
us think that being Black is the problem. It's not. It is,
Mm,
as you said, it's the reaction that
mm,
these white supremacists, when they treat us in this way. Now, the burden of how they treat us, that is
mm.
heavy. That's a heavy burden, right?
Indeed,
But
yes.
because they keep doing this and making us feel this way, that's the part, right? And so I want
Mhm.
us to be clear that we're not saying being Black is a burden. Absolutely not. You know what I'm
No
saying?
way,
Like,
no
I
way.
love being
Yeah,
Black. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Like, no,
yeah,
absolutely not. What
yeah.
we're saying is dealing with this racist nonsense in the world, in the workplace, that is the burden. The
Indeed.
that white supremacist behaviors, that is the burden, not being
Yeah.
Black. Okay. I don't want anybody watching this video get any perception that we're saying being Black as a burden. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't get that twisted. Okay. So, Natasha, when I think about, you know, being in the workplace and having to deal with all this stuff, I'm also thinking about for Black women that we often carry so many different roles, right? So we think about the roles we might play in the workplace, but then we might
Mhm.
also play a lot of roles privately, right?
Yeah.
So, like thinking about taxes that we play, outside, right? Like caretakers and things like that. Did any of the respondents talk about how challenging it is to play certain roles in the workplace and how exhausting that is, emotionally exhausting? And then once
Mhm.
they leave work, they still have to play, you know, excellence tax once they leave work. Did any of them talk about that as well?
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that talk about, especially people that have black partners. They feel that their children have to go through it at school. Their husbands, partners have to go through it at work, and they
Mm,
come together, and all they're talking about is how difficult it is out there, um, with what they're experiencing. But the
mhm,
thing is that what I did find in the research, those people that were married to another race,
mhm,
a lot of them didn't really understand what that person was going through, and so you felt like,
mm,
well, not that I felt like, there was a large percentage. I think it was 63% of people said that they had to speak to somebody outside their family about what was happening to them in the
mm,
workplace, outside the workplace. They were looking for therapists that could help them with this issue. And it was difficult to find therapists that really understood
mm,
what they were going through. Um, yeah, so I think it was 49, yeah, 49% of people said that they didn't have access to culturally sensitive um, support. Um,
You said
so
43%?
49%.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. When they're at senior levels, it's actually 100%. But the research covers entry level all the way up to director level, C-suite. So at the highest levels, people didn't have access to culturally sensitive support at work,
Mm,
but they're
mm,
constantly going through this in their personal life, at work, in their workplace. I was talking to a friend the other day, and he's just had to take his son out of football because of the racism that his son was experiencing. And he's trying to get his son back into football, and it just takes away a lot of opportunities
right.
from us because of the other people's views and how they view black people as we're
Mhm,
a threat, or if we're too good, we can't, we they don't want us in that space.
mm,
Just recently, um in the UK, someone said the UK is being colonized by foreigners. That's what's happening in the UK. And someone hit back and said, well, the thing is that if we didn't if we didn't have black people or foreigners on the football team, we'd have about 3 players. The thing is that it's just constant in media, in the way we're reported in the newspapers here. I'm sure you get the same in America.
mhm,
Well, it is the same in America, and I did find within the research that black women pay a heavier burden in America, more than the US, more than Canada and the UK. There wasn't enough data for Australia, but I am continuing the research, and I'll look at that a bit deeper. But in America, the taxes are so much deeper. People have higher health issues in America, and I assume that's because of your health system, because we don't have to pay for healthcare here.
yeah, yeah.
But then again, we are treated quite badly here within
Ooh,
our health system. Uh,
mm,
yeah, so it's just everywhere you go, media. If you go to the way we're treated by the police, the way we're treated in schools, the way we are kept in certain areas, we have to deal with that on top of work. Yeah.
as I'm listening to you, I'm just thinking about the power of us having these conversations
Mm,
because sometimes we just talk within our country, right? Like,
Mm,
oh, this is what we experienced in America. And we just stay talking about what Black Americans experience, right? Or
mhm,
people in the UK, that's what we experience. But I love that we are now talking across the world as Black people. This
mhm.
is what we're experiencing because of white supremacy, and look at these same patterns of what we're experiencing.
Yeah.
So even though, right? So before you said that, I had no idea about, so I'm thinking, oh, you have universal health care. That's great. But you're saying, we got universal health care, but we're treated horribly,
Mm,
horribly. And so
yeah.
there's still all these systemic inequities that we're still experiencing. And so that's why I appreciate having these types of forums and discussions that we're able to talk about our common experiences. And another reason why I appreciate that is because when we think about white supremacy, what's a white supremacy? White supremacy is so mm, okay, I don't want to do a descriptor, but part of what it does too
Yeah.
is the whole divide and conquer, right?
Yeah.
So
Indeed.
let's focus on keeping Black Americans, and let's just say that, oh, other groups look down on Black Americans, and let's see that let's foster the seeds of dissension, right? And
Yeah.
let's keep them divided so they don't
Mm,
look at their common issues. Let's not look at their commonalities so they can
mhm,
come together and look at, oh, the common issue is white supremacy. Let's
mm.
unify. So
Yeah.
again, that's why I appreciate these conversations. So thank you for talking about that. So I think that really helps us. Right, Marissa? It's global. It's global. All this is
Yeah.
global. So thank you for even sharing that. So, and you know, when you were talking, I was like, this stuff is crazy making Natasha, right? Because on the one hand, it's not funny, but it is. Because on the one hand, when I think about how people respond to, let's say, Black people,
Mm,
it's either we're too good or we're not good enough.
mm.
I'm saying, and it's even in the workplace, right?
Yeah.
So you are intimidating, but
Mhm,
then, uh, uh, oh, well, you don't have this or you don't have that. It's like, what? But how do I even get the job? You know what I'm saying? But then now you're intimidating.
mm.
What are you talking about? So it's like this
Yeah.
constant, like, never good enough. You're too good. It's like you're just making people uncomfortable. But then you have to look at, well, why am I making you feel uncomfortable? Let's look at what's going on with you, right? So it's
Mm.
all these things that people are projecting onto us, like you talked about
Yeah.
before, the
Mm.
imposed syndrome.
Mhm.
People are
Yeah.
imposing things upon us because of their own issues. And so we have to be mindful that we're not internalizing that, like the comment the person made about um, the burden or how heavy it is being Black. See, that's
Mhm.
internalizing what they're projecting onto us. We have to be very mindful of not doing that. Any comments about that?
Yeah, so in the research, before the foundation taxes, and this is explained in the full report. Before the foundation taxes, you have intergenerational burdens that have been
Mm,
passed on to us. So
mm,
we get that messaging: you've got to work twice as hard to be
right.
half as good, and you've got to excel at college. You've got to do all these things. White people don't like you, and I've had even to this day, had listened to some of my cousins talking to their children the same thing that was passed down through my mom, my aunties, and what have you. But I think the conditioning that we've had over the years, we've internalized a lot of things. I think when you look at a lot of people that didn't have this sort of, like for instance, I grew up with step brothers and sisters, and my stepdad used to call my brother the king, and he's done extremely well because he's never thought that he's less than. He
Oh.
thinks he's better than everybody else. So so he gets he's just different. He's just different to us. He thinks that he's on top of the world. He thinks that he made a comment one day. Of course, I'm just so much better than all of you.
Oh,
That he gets whatever he wants. He's never had this sort of issue where he's found it difficult to progress at work or anything. But then again, I do say to the guys and my brothers, I've got three brothers, they are some very good looking guys. They they look like pop stars. So the thing is that it's easier for good looking black men to get the support from especially white women anyway to
mm,
progress. But for us as black women, we carry the burden heavier. Even though we internalize a lot of these intergenerational things that have been passed down, which I say it's a lot of trauma that we've had to deal with from our parents, from our grandparents, what they have programmed us. And we have had to protect ourselves by thinking about that almost on a daily basis because it's proven as soon as you leave the house, it's proven.
yeah. Now,
Yeah.
Natasha, you're gonna have to unpack that comment you made about good-looking black men. You have to unpack that. You have to, because I'm gonna see some comments about that later. You have to unpack that. Can you unpack on that, please? Because I'm gonna get some comments about that later.
Listen, I have watched how my brothers have progressed. I have watched how their friends have progressed. If they go to uni, if they do the right things and they put themselves in proximity to whiteness, anything is possible. My brother will leave a job today and get another one tomorrow. For
Mm,
me, I've got to work so hard. My sisters have to work so hard,
mm,
and I thought it was because I'm the darkest in my family, and my stepdad used to go on about, oh, you can't get a job because you're so dark skinned and what have you. But they are light skinned people. The girls struggle with absolutely everything. The boys, they're friends, they're good looking guys, they get whatever they want. They have all, well, the thing is that they've all got married to white women anyway, and they have climbed the ladder easily. Their life has been a lot easier. It's sad to say. I have gone to interview when my brother was younger. We went to an interview and there was a white lady there.
mhm.
He just said a couple of words. When can you start? I was just like, what? No,
Wow.
yeah. Their life has been a lot easier. They speak well. They're well educated, and um, they're they're not considered a threat because they're tall and handsome, I suppose.
Why did I consider it?
And that's just my experience.
I
That
agree with what Marissa said. There's so much there. Why is it not considered a threat? I don't want to get totally, but I'm like, I'm so intrigued right now. Why
yeah.
are they not considered a threat, you think?
Why are they not considered a threat?
Yeah.
Because um, I think because they're softly spoken, they have learned how to navigate themselves around white people.
Mm,
They I don't know, they shave their hair,
mm.
they
Interesting.
but their lives are completely different from ours. They're not stressed at
Interesting.
work. They don't feel they
Wow.
need to work harder. And even during this research, I've had a lot of pushback from black men that basically said that I was complaining too much, that I
Stop it,
needed to pull
Natasha.
back. Yeah, that I needed to pull back from this research. What was the point of doing this? Um, we black women, we complain too much. You just have to play the game.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah.
That's an
I
interesting
mean, the thing is
backstory.
that the thing
Wow.
is, to be honest, most of the men I reached out to chose not to answer the survey. There's
Mm,
only, I think it's 90% of men have answered the survey. Some people have put down as a joke that they are white um, and they do not understand what we're talking about in terms of microaggressions. So when you look at the study, it's mainly a black woman study. It's about Black women
Wow.
and what we go through. Yeah.
Wow. I feel like there's so much research within that research. That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
fascinating. That is really fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. Is there any
It's
research out there about any of these
I
other
haven't
topics you're
found
bringing up?
I haven't found anything like that. The thing is that when you look at things, I mean, my son will probably tell you something different actually, because he feels it's so difficult as a black man to get on in the world, basically,
Mhm,
because he's been stopped by the police so many times. He
mhm,
has he has been arrested for things, mistaken identity, whatever, so he probably has a different story to his
mhm,
uncles, you see.
mhm.
So but the thing is that he's got a friend that just sort of goes through life and gets handed whatever he wants, but he is with a white person and they
Mm.
find it easier. And his friend will say, I will never get with a black girl because my life is going to be too difficult.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. This
So
is woo, wow. Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Well, and I agree with what you said, Marissa. I'm sorry that that has been like your pushback from
Mm,
other Black men,
mm,
some other Black men. And
mm.
it really speaks to why this type of work is important and that there's a need for additional work because there's a lot of internalized oppression
Indeed,
speaking here.
indeed. Yeah.
And so there's a lot of additional work. So I just want to talk to you about something else that you mentioned before. You talked about foundation taxes. I love how you said that,
Hmm.
right? And I just thought about, Natasha, how around the world, Black people are told the same thing growing up. We have to work twice as hard to get half as much. It is amazing. It's amazing that we're
Hmm.
told the same thing, right? So I'm wondering, given that so many of us have been told the same thing by our parents, and again, we work really hard in school, we get the good grades, we go to college, we get all the degrees, we get the certification, we get more and more and more and more and more. Did your respondents talk about, is there any sense of like being disillusioned? Like you did all the right things, you play by the rules, you did all the right things, and you still get treated like this.
Yeah. A lot of people said that they felt as though they've had the wrong programming, that
Mhm,
it wasn't worth it. Um, One thing that stood out particular to me was it was a guy that said this actually, that he saw how his colleagues were always just promoted over and above him, and he was more qualified than they were, you see.
mhm,
So, what was the point of him doing all those qualifications?
mhm,
What was the point of gaining the right experience? Because you're
mhm,
always going to be treated the same way. And unless you go to an organization that is quite progressive, but
mhm,
then you do find that I've worked for some black organizations, and the amount of self-hatred I have seen um, from black people, it's been quite unreal, and I've had to just sort of exit those sort of organizations myself. But people
mhm,
do talk about what was the point retraining for something that they actually love, instead of what they were programmed to do. A lot of people in law saying that it's so exhausting that they need to come out of it because it just wasn't worth it. A lot of people in the property sector have said the same thing as well, um,
mhm,
that they've got all these qualifications, still treated the same, always waiting for someone to give you an opportunity, and you try to create the opportunities for yourself, and then it's very difficult because of regulation and things like that,
mhm,
to then start your own business, and you need the support of others. So
mhm,
yeah, I always say that if we can start our own thing, start your own thing.
mhm.
If you can work as a community and start your own thing, even better, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So now, of course, you brought up another very important topic that we have to touch
Yeah.
upon, right? So you brought up the issue about working in Black organizations and the issue about all skin folk and kinfolk, right? Because that issue always
Mhm.
comes up. So what does this look like, imposed syndrome with Black organizations?
I think
Or
with
any of these
black,
topics that we talked about with Black organizations, working in Black
yeah,
organizations?
with black organizations, you find that well, this is what I found, and it is within the research as well, that the thing is that it's difficult for when you go within black organizations for other people to pull you up because they don't want to feel as though you're letting them down, you see, and they want to be like for instance, one of the organizations that I worked for, all his clients were white, and he would put me at the forefront of everything because I was very qualified, very experienced, and what have you. But
Mhm.
the moment anything big came, it was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Natasha, you can't do that. That's for me to do," or whatever. So the thing is that if someone made a comment about me, "Oh, I wasn't expecting a black person," he would put me in the back or whatever. So the whole thing is about proximity to whiteness. That's what I found. And you find that, like I said earlier, a lot of people felt that they were losing themselves to be this sort of professional person, to show themselves that they can do these sort of things, act as if, well, not act as if, but the thing is that what is expected from us being within white circles. And it's just a lot of people within the research said that they cannot rely on another black person lifting them up if they're at a higher level within the organization. Most
Mm.
of the time, they felt suppressed by that person.
Yikes. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So this topic we're definitely going to talk a lot more about, and I've talked a lot about all kinfolk and kinfolk. One of someone else from the UK is going to be specifically talking about the issue of Black people in leadership and sometimes how they don't help other Black people up. So we're going to be
yeah,
talking about that in a future live. And that's exactly why my channel is called Lifting as We Climb, because I'm like, we got to lift up as we're moving forward. Like
indeed.
nobody, like you're not going to go anywhere if you pushing other Black people down. Like literally, I don't
Yeah,
care if you're thinking that you're going to promote. Literally, you're not going to go anywhere. You're not. Okay. So thank you
yeah.
for sharing that. So what
Yeah.
would you say, Natasha, to a Black woman who's watching right now and she is feeling everything that we've talked about? She's feeling the stuff that is in the research. She's feeling the excellence tax. She's feeling the impost syndrome. She is feeling defeated. What words of wisdom can you offer to her?
Yeah, I know that black women, we do so much investment in ourselves, but invest in yourself, join a community with
Mm,
other people that can
mhm,
actually lift you up.
mm,
Um, and one thing I didn't talk about, which a lot of people did talk about in the research, is that they're doing unpaid diversity work. Were
ooh,
allowed to say no to that. um, if they want you to do this diversity work, negotiate um, to give talks. What my sister does, my sister's actually a disabled black and a black woman. So what she does, we've had to put something together for her so that she gives talks on disability as a black woman, and she gets
mm,
paid for that as extra.
mhm,
So
mhm,
if you can do that, well, there's always room for those sort of things because they're just getting your knowledge for free.
mhm,
Um, yeah, find spaces where you don't have to explain yourself. That's why I say join a community,
mhm,
get mentoring, get a sponsor.
mhm.
Sponsors are always better than mentors, to be honest.
What's that? What's that?
Because the thing is that there's someone that speaks for you in the room instead of
Mm,
just giving you some knowledge. Oh, yeah, you can get into this by doing that. Sponsors will talk for you, recommend certain organizations for you, positions, things like that. Yeah. So, yeah, set boundaries. And don't wait for your body to break down before you start to think about leaving. Get
Mm,
your funds together. I
mm,
cannot stress that enough. Save money so that you have an exit strategy, because
mhm.
we cannot rely on these organizations to treat us with respect.
Exactly, right? So
Yeah.
exit planning is essential,
Yeah.
right? And if
Yeah.
we're waiting for organizations to treat us better, don't wait on that. We need to take
Exactly.
our power back and we need to strategize and plan, plan, plan. So I
Yeah.
want to give a shout out right quick. Colette, if you're still listening, I need for you to write in the chat. Colette and I had a very spirited conversation the other day because I told her what we're going to be talking about. And Colette had again, we had a spirited conversation about imposter syndrome in Black women. Colette, if you can remember what we talked about in relation to your perspective about imposter syndrome and how we talked about that it's nuanced with Black women and you had a different perspective, can you please write that in the chat so we could talk about it as we have an open discussion? So, Colette, can you please put that in the chat? Okay, so Natasha, can you please share about services that you offer to help Black women or people in general, and also how can people access this research that we've been talking about?
Okay, so they can access this research through costofblackexcellence.com. And services that I offer at the moment, I have just recently set up a community for Black professionals that want to come in. I am asking therapists, people that are coaches who can offer services to the Black community to register. Just email me directly. You'll find my details on the website. So just email me directly so that I can send a link so that I can interview you. Because the thing is that I do want quality services for the Black community, because, as I said, 49% of people do not have access to culturally sensitive information. So, the community I offer is a work in progress at the moment. I am developing a qualification for diversity experts, so that is to come later in the year. So the community at the moment is free, and then you can upgrade once I start putting in the services and the other tools for Black professionals to offer.
Okay. Did I get the website correct? Costofblackexcellence.com?
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
Okay, so check it out. Check it out, everybody. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to start going through the community chat, everybody, and then we're going to start reading comments. And Colette, again, if you could put in the chat, if you can remember your what we talked about before in terms of your other perspective. And then Marissa, thank you so much for putting in the chat to get on the waiting list for the 2026 Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women. Again, this is perfect what Natasha just talked about. She talked about the importance of exit planning. So, no matter where you are with your job, okay, you need to always be exit planning, always thinking about your backup plans. What we are seeing in this world is that no job is stable. No job is stable. So it's important to always have exit plans. And when you think about exit plans, and what we're going to do in the summit is thinking about and planning for how to replace your income, how to replace your benefits, your health insurance, and your retirement. So we're going to talk about this and we're actually going to create it during the summit. So once you leave the summit, you will have your plans available to you. So whenever you're ready to make your move, you'll be ready to make your move. And if you ever come to a summit before, you know that as a privacy consideration, you will not be on camera. Okay. So don't feel like, oh my God, people are going to know. No, you will not be on camera. Okay. So, okay. So Colette, thank you, Colette. She said, okay. So Colette said, I don't believe that we start off with imposter syndrome. I'm now thinking that we experience both imposter syndrome and imposed syndrome. Yeah, okay. So that's, we had some heat, not heated. It wasn't heated, Colette. It wasn't heated, right? But we kind of started off like, I was like, yeah, I don't think it applies, da, da, da. But we ended off with, it may be a combination of both for Black
Yeah.
women. What are your thoughts about that, Natasha?
Yeah, well, I do think that we have, I think it's mainly imposed. We don't really start off with imposter syndrome because the thing is that we do think that we can do these things. But then as we go on, because of all the externals that are happening to us, we start to question ourselves. Am
Mm-hmm.
I good enough? Am I right for this organization? Is this organization right for me? Have I done this correctly? And a lot of people within the research say that they've preparing, over preparing. A lot of people are using AI to check their work to say,
Mm-hmm.
is this correct? Cannot put a full stop in the wrong place or a comma or whatever. I mean, I've had someone write to me and say to me, I don't trust this report because you didn't put a full stop at the end of the sentence.
Oh my gosh. You
Yeah.
are,
Petty. They get
yeah,
petty. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it
yeah.
is imposed on us. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And Colette, I'm sorry to read the first part of what you said. So you said, I think that Black women do experience imposter syndrome, although we know that we are prepared and qualified once we enter spaces where we are made to feel like we didn't earn our positions. That
Mm.
said, I do not believe we start off with imposter syndrome. I'm now thinking that we experience both imposter syndrome and imposed syndrome. Okay, okay, got it, got it. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to read the community chat. If you have any additional comments, questions, anything like that, please put them in the chat. Okay. So, hey, Cynthia, happy post Valentine's Day, everyone. Attending the Job Liberation Summit is a must. I did not pay this person. I did not pay this person, but I agree. I agree. It is dope. This is the third annual Job Liberation Virtual Summit. Each year we've
Wow.
had over 300 Black women in attendance. So come on down. Okay. Get your exit plan ready so that when you're ready to go, you will be ready. Stay ready to get ready, okay? Greetings, everyone. Let's see. Hello from Cali. Is imposter syndrome a thing for Black women? Is it a white thing? Well, we talked about that, Cynthia, okay? Greetings from the San Francisco Bay Area. Shameful. Definitely interested in driving into those 5 categories. So, yes, please access Natasha's research. Okay, we talked about that part. Okay. Many have used Blackness to define what they themselves are ashamed of, which has nothing to do with us. But if you can attach it to someone or something else, then you can blame others and never have to take responsibility for what they do. Any comments on that, Natasha?
Say that again. Sorry.
Sure. Many have used Blackness to define what they themselves are ashamed of, which has nothing to do with us. But if you can attach it to someone or something else, then you can blame others and never have to take responsibility for what they do.
Yeah. Well, I do feel like I know this might be controversial
Okay.
when I say this, but the
Okay.
thing is that I think sometimes we ourselves have to take responsibility for ourselves as
Hmm.
well as because the thing is that our programming in this world is so different because if you go I've traveled a lot and I've gone to Africa. They don't see color as we see it. We have to define ourselves as black or white, whatever. In the workplace, it is very difficult in
Hmm.
the Eurocentric environment. And the
Hmm.
thing is that we have to take responsibility and say, do I want to actually put up with this? What can I do to help myself to get out of these sort of situations? I do find that um, a lot of the times they put a lot on us. But the thing is that a lot of times we take too much in the workplace. We really do. And
Hmm.
there needs to be a pushback. And I know it's very difficult when we're the only one because it's, I mean, you could get sacked, it's your livelihood or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that we have to heal from the past and stuff like that. um, yeah, I mean, I follow Marissa's work all the time, and I think that we ourselves, we have a lot of healing to do.
Absolutely.
We've got to do a lot of internal work in order to change how we feel about what is actually happening to us, and we have to take responsibility for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like I have changed a lot simply because of my healing process, and
Hmm.
I've gone through all the somatic healing and what have you. But yeah, the white people need healing as well. Asian people need healing. Everybody needs healing. The thing is
Agreed.
that they need to understand that the way they speak to us, it's as if we have no feelings at all, and they blame us for a lot of things that are happening. Oh, high crime rate. Oh, it's the foreigners. Oh, it's the black people. It's this. No, at the end of the day, yeah, look at your statistics before we even came into your country,
How about
so
that? Wait, 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 wait. Okay. 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 I'm gonna start it. Oh, how about why are we even here?
yeah, because
You brought
they
us here
here,
because of your violence.
yeah,
Okay. So
mm,
let's not even go
yeah.
there. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't even start that nonsense. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
sometimes it's so exhausting trying to educate these people. I do a lot of history lessons with my children, and I think my son is so good at quoting all these things to white people. When we look back at history, your history is so violent. I heard
Right.
him say, saying
And
to
you have the
someone,
nerve to like contort your mouth to say that.
"Yeah,
Wow. You clearly do not know your own history. How about that?
yeah, yeah,
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yes.
yeah."
So
They want
Marissa
to
was
blame
talking
us
about
for,
the
yeah,
UK is the colonizer. Woo! Yes, it is.
yeah.
Yes, it is. And Colette is calling you out, Marissa. Hey, little Miss Hey, little Harriet. Like I said, we call ourselves the Harriets. Colette. So Colette is the big sister, right? And then I'm the middle sister, Harriet, and then Marissa is the little sister, Harriet. Okay. Let me see. We talked about that. Okay, it's global. HR does not help. EEO does not help. And if you complain in certain professions, you get blackballed because the network is so small. Yeah. Constant gaslighting. You can never look in the mirror and see what's wrong with them. Projection
Mm,
is a nationwide epidemic, I guess
yeah,
worldwide. Yeah, it is.
it
Yes,
is.
you're doing
Yeah.
too much. Then it switches to you're not a team player. The game to them. Yeah, it's like it's crazy making truly. Yes, the you're not good enough, but we know wait. The you're not good enough, but we know can do it. Reminds of times when I would be excluded from high visibility project, but then the project was bottlenecked and they see my input, shaking my head, right? Exactly,
Mm,
right? So you're excluded, but then they screw up, they mess up, and they say, oh, we need your help. Yeah, uh-huh. The
yeah,
messages we
yeah.
hear early on become our internal voice. Yes, absolutely.
Mm,
There's so much there. It's basically the opposite for men and women in terms of employment in the US, but that's because the way the US has vilified Black men is violent by the media. This is fascinating. So they want you to do more research on this, Natasha. Okay. What double oppression
noted.
of racism and sexism? I need to send my good looking Black son to England when he graduates from college. Oh my God. Okay. I'm sorry, Natasha. Your work is truly important. This brings up a discussion about assimilation. Yes. Kamani or Natasha Williams, thank you for this powerful discussion. The distinction between imposter syndrome and what many of us experience as imposter syndrome was such a meaningful takeaway. Good. As someone deeply committed to supporting students and professional mentees, especially those navigating the Black Excellence Tax, this conversation helped crystallize how external pressures, systemic expectations, and the burden of representation can compound inner doubt into something, and I think it's continued somewhere else. Okay. Then Colette, it doesn't surprise me that the Black men respond that way. In addition to racism and sexism, the most painful part of my experience in a toxic workplace was the Mr. Noir that was very loud. Oh, I'm sorry. Absolutely. The organization I was directed, the toxicity towards Black women specifically, internalized
Mm.
oppression, teaching us to take down each other. Exactly. That's divide and conquer. Yes. So
Yeah.
between like where we are in the world, the so-called gender wars, right? Most decisions about your career are made in rooms you are not in. So yes, sponsors are very valuable along with mentors. Yes. I think that Black women do. Okay, we talked about that. Okay, let's see. Okay, so Colette, we have someone agreeing with you. You might be onto something. Maybe it's a projection of their imposter syndrome onto us. In fact, I just did a post on this today in LinkedIn about this. Okay,
Mm.
the projection, right? And I think the post started off with your supervisor might be the real imposter. So check that out on LinkedIn that I did a post about that. Okay. Um, oh, okay, okay. So the comment earlier,
Mm.
she said that she's referring to white people to provide context. Okay. So the comments, I want to go back a little bit. Okay. So the comments or the question about many have used blackness to define what they themselves are ashamed of, which has nothing to do with us. But if you can attach it to something, someone or something else, then you could blame others and never have to take responsibility for what they do. She's referring to white people.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So let's see. Okay. Just make sure that I got all the comments. Okay. Prior comments should have said they excluded from projects. Then they saw me off. Yeah, I got you. As a subject matter. Got you, Colette. Got you, Colette. Okay. Okay. Very good discussion. Fascinating research, Natasha. So
Mhm.
clearly there's a need for more research.
Yes, indeed.
So
Yeah.
much more. There's so much more. So, Natasha, as we're winding down, I'm going to give you the last word. Any last words you would like to say to our community before we wind down for today?
I think there's one thing that I missed that I should have said. It's a tip that I give to absolutely everyone is to build your brand outside your employer because you
Mm,
never know what's going to happen
true,
tomorrow.
true.
So build your network, build your reputation, build your
Mhm,
skills, and build your visibility outside your workplace so
mhm.
that if they say, do you know what, I don't need you anymore, or we're cutting jobs, you have something for yourself, a brand. You've set that up yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have your stuff together, right? So no
Yeah.
matter what, that you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So everyone, thank you so much for watching. Natasha, thank you so much for being my guest today. I
Thank you, Dr.
appreciate you.
Kamani, for having
Yes,
me.
yes, yes, yes. So everyone, as you're watching this video, please give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for commenting. Continue to comment. If you're watching the replay, you can continue to comment. Also, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do so. It's completely free. If you have turned the notification bell, please do so. And please share this video with at least two other Black women. As I mentioned before, get on the waiting list for the third annual Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women, where we're going to be creating your exit plan. You're going to be creating your own exit plan for leaving a toxic job and or a job you've outgrown. Okay. So you're going to be creating your own exit plan. We're going to have more than, I think, 15 speakers, Black women speakers, where you're going to be learning different aspects of exit planning, replacing your income, replacing your benefits, health insurance, and retirement. Okay. There's nothing that can harm you for getting prepared. Okay. Planning is the best preparation. We've seen what's happened with Black women. We need to get prepared at all times. Okay. So, again, get on the waiting list for the 2026 Job Liberation Virtual Summit, which starts May 1st. Okay, everyone. So, I will see you all later. Thank you again for watching. Take care. Bye bye.